Ms. McClaren, go right ahead.
Let's look at the quality of the math education research cited by district officials in support of inquiry-based instruction. The National Math Advisory Panel states in their 2008 report that going all the way back to 1990, they reviewed more than 16,000 research studies and related documents. Yet only a small percentage of available research met the standards of evidence and could support conclusions. In addition, the report by the NMAP Subcommittee on Standards of Evidence issued a recommendation that was particularly damning to the research conducted by the education community. The subcommittee stated, the panel's systematic reviews have yielded hundreds of studies on important topics, but only a small proportion of those studies have met methodological standards. Most studies have failed to meet standards of quality because they do not permit strong inferences about causation or causal mechanisms. No link between cause and effect is what that means. The subcommittee recommends that the rigor and amount of coursework in statistics and experimental design be increased in graduate training and education. So the National Math Advisory Panel says flat out that educators need to learn math better so they can run statistically sound studies. This makes it clear for all to see that the numerous studies and evidence cited in support of our shift to inquiry-based math education are not credible. Obvious, common-sense evidence and easily understood facts, such as the Wassel scores, increasing math remediation needs in our colleges, skyrocketing tutoring rates, and so on, as well as the few rigorous studies which have been carried out, such as Project Follow-Through by the federal government and William Hook's extensive study in California. All these indicate that inquiry-based materials have resulted in falling math skills among our students, particularly among educationally disadvantaged students. We have heard directors call the adoption committee balanced. Based on the committee's disconnect with overwhelming community testimony, we found it to be stacked. We have heard directors call discovery-oriented materials balanced. Based on careful scrutiny of the texts and their history in other districts, we find those materials to be radically tilted towards the inquiry ideology. This board has chosen to continue to ignore traditional, meaning time-honored and proven strategies in favor of well-meant but radical and unproven strategies that produce failure. We are loath to go to court, but even when well-meaning elected officials disregard their obligation to due diligence, do not demand that school officials answer reasonable questions, and instead choose to blindly continue a program of inquiry-based instruction that has produced poor results for the last 10 years, you leave the public no option but to go to federal court in defense of the children.
Thank you, Ms. McClaren.